Right, I'm at a bit of a loose end, as they say, today. It's a lovely afternoon, and I don't really feel like going out into Otley or Ilkley. It's so busy on the roads, and I thought I'd just have a nice calming day at home. So I'm going to go in the back garden and see if I can find something that I can photograph. And I think today I'm going to use the same camera as in the last video I did, the Canon EF. I've loaded some FP4 into it, so what I'm going to do now is go into the back garden and see if I can find some flower or shape or texture or something that will make a nice nice print. So I'm going to go in the back garden now and have a good look around. Right, it's lovely and sunny at the back here, so I'm just going to have a little look round, and I think I want to try and find some sort of nice flowing shape that's going to make a nice what they call a fine art print. And we're a little bit short on plants this year with the lockdown with the garden centres, etc., but I'm sure we'll be stocking up soon. If my wife gets her own way. So I'll just have a little look round, see if I can see anything. Well, there's somebody who's enjoying this lovely weather, aren't you, old lad? You're really enjoying this. It's lovely warmth. He is. Yes, he is. Say hello to everybody. Hello. Right, I think I've found something to photograph, and can you believe it? Believe it or not, it's a tulip again. So this is the shape that I've seen, and just need to twist it a little bit when I do it, but probably something like that in the frame. But this background isn't right. It's too bitty. I need a plainer background. So I'm gonna have to move the plant in the position where I can maybe create a better background. So let's have a look round, see what we can do. Right, I think this background should work, but for me it's a little bit too light, so I've got to find something that's going to drape down the wall and create a darker background. So the idea is to get the plant, move it around about there. Quiet. Hey, Willie, quiet. Quiet. Shh. I'm doing a video. Never mind. And then sort of twist the plant so it's looking something like that in the frame, but I don't want this lighter background. I want it to be dark. So I'm going to have to see if I can find something to drape over the wall. Right, I found this bit of old carpeting, and it's got a dark non-reflective background, which should do the job. Let's have another little look what this is looking like against the darker background. Now that's looking better. Yeah, I like that. Right, got the tripod set up, and I'm doing the same as I did in the previous video. I'm using an ND8 filter, which gives me 3 stops, takes 3 stops of light away, and it's going to enable me to take this picture virtually wide open again. I love the look of this lens at that aperture at f1.4. So I'll mount the camera on a tripod, and then I've got to arrange this plant so it's got a nice shape to it. Right, I've got to try and get this plant in a position without destroying it. A bit more of a twist on it. Okay, thank you. Where are you? Right, that looks about right. I'll just see what it looks like through the viewfinder now. Right, got the camera set up. It's just a matter of framing it. I think it's about spot on there. I'll try and show you the viewfinder looking through it, if I can with this iPhone. Let's see what I can do. So that's the view, but it's a little bit blown out. So now I've got to take a light reading and get focus and take the picture. And I'm going to use the Canon light meter again, do an instant light reading. I've rated the film at 12 ISO, and that compensates for the 3 stops that the ND8 is taking out. That's how I'm going to work it. Take an instant light reading. (160) and at f1.4 it's exactly 1,000th of a second, so I'm not going to get any camera shake. So I'll take the picture now, make sure I get the focus. (1.4) So that's that one. Right, I'm just going to take another shot. But this time I'm going to stop the lens down to f4, because I think at this distance the f1.4 aperture will not get enough in focus. But it'd be nice to compare the two and see how much depth of field increases stopping the lens down 2 stops. So I need to take another light reading, and it's still 160, and at f4 that's given me 125th of a second. So I'm set to f4 125. I'm going to lock the mirror up and use a self timer. So the mirror's locked up and it's on self timer, and just fire the shutter, see what happens. It's a very quiet self timer, is this. That's it. Right, put the cardigan back on. It's even cold in the sun. Now for the previous exposure I used this Canon light meter. This one only takes instant light readings. You place the dome facing back towards the camera, press the button, and it'll give you 90% of the time a correct exposure reading, because it's just measuring the light falling onto the subject. But sometimes when you're doing like a setup such as this, where you have more time and you can control the actual exposure better, it's better to use a spot meter. And I'll show you how this works. If I point this spot meter on that background, which is quite dark, it'll place that background on zone 5, so that's middle grey. So it wouldn't, the black background wouldn't turn out dark as I want it to be. It would turn it to zone 5, which is at a mid grey. Now the same would happen if I metered off the brightest area on the Tulip. It would still turn that white area to zone 5 middle grey. The meter's calibrated to do that because it's giving you a datum point. So for me to place zones, I have to alter the exposure. Right, so let's say I want the background on zone 3, which is an area that's dark but retains some texture. I take a meter reading from that, and it's giving me 60th of a second at f1.4. Now, keep in mind what I've just said, that's placing that on zone 5. I need to place that on zone 3, so all I've got to do is underexpose that area by 2 stops. So from 60th of a second at f1.4, the exposure would be 2/50th at f1.4, and that area would be on zone 3. Now, because I've concentrated just on that background, what's happening to this tulip? Because I've altered the exposure, I've altered the exposure on the tulip as well. So to get things just right, we need to measure the dynamic range between the dark background and the white area on the tulip. And to do that, you can put these meters into what they call EV mode, and you can measure the scene's dynamic range. And what we're after really, if you're working in a dark room, you're really after a 5 zone range, where the darkest area to retain detail should be on round about zone 3, and the brightest area to retain detail on zone 8. If you're doing the scanning workflow, you can push that dynamic range a little bit more, I've found, to around about 6 stops of dynamic range. But anyway, let's measure the dynamic range of this and see where the tulips are going to fall. And this is how you can visualise a scene using the spot meter. So I'm in EV mode. I'm on EV 7.4 for the dark background, and then for the white area on the tulip, I'll just scan it to find the brightest area. It's 12.2. So I've got, if we read upwards, 7.2, 8.2, 9.2, 10.2, 11.2, 12.2. So I've got 5 stops of dynamic range, which is absolutely perfect. It means that if I place the background on zone 3, if we count up the 5 stops of dynamic range, it places the brightest area on the tulip at zone 8, and that's just about spot on. So I hope you understood that. But using the spot meter does help you to visualise and helps you to place zones where you want them on the scene. Now, if the dynamic range had been 7 stops, what you would do in that case, and this is more applicable to sheet film, single sheet film, you would reduce the development time to bring down those highlights into the zonal range. If the dynamic range was less than 5 stops, you would increase the development time to increase the dynamic range. But as I say, that's better when you're using large format cameras, or if you're using roll film, and you're taking the shots in the same light on the same roll. You can develop the film to that dynamic range. The problem using roll film is I might take the pictures here today, and then tomorrow I'll go out and it's a dull day, so I really can't do that. But the way I'm working today, with the light being constant and just using a few exposures, I could develop to that dynamic range. But it's 5 stops and I won't have to do that. So let me take the picture at f1.4, and it was 250. So that's that one. Now, if I want to take one at f1.4, I'd just do the exact same thing. I would place set the meter to f4, meter on the background, which is 1/8 of a second, ISO 2, and it will be 30th of a second. So f4, 30th of a second. And we can just see the difference in the depth of field, hopefully. So that's a good reason in this situation why it's sometimes better to use a spot meter than just taking an average instant light reading. You have more control and you will get better results. I hope you understood all that. It can be quite complicated, but once you get into it, I often say this, it's not rocket science. Right, get sorted and get this film developed. Right, I'm at it again. I got the film in the tank, and I'm going to develop it in Pyrocat HD. I'd like to thank Roger from Shoot Film Like a Boss. Thanks for the sticker, Roger, and thank you for sending me the Pyro 510 Pyro. And the next film that I'll develop, I'm going to give this developer a try. So once again, thank you, Roger. So pour the developer into the tank. Temperatures at 70. I developed this at 21 degrees centigrade. Pour the developer in, start the timer. And then I'm just going to agitate this for the first 30 seconds. As you can see, I'm doing a twisting action as I agitate the tank. I'll just leave that now in the Nova tank. Keeps the temperature at 21 degrees, and I'm just going to agitate it three times every minute. So I'll get that done, and we'll see if the picture of the tulips turned out. Right, that's another film developed. Let's take out the spiral. Take off that area. Hang it up to dry. Put weight at the bottom. And just let that dry. Get them scanned and have a look at them. If there's out decent on it, I'm going to make a print and offer it for sale on eBay. They look okay, do those? We'll have a look at the differences between the spot reading and setting the zones and the incident light reading. So this is the first image where I use the incident light reading, and the picture looks okay, but when you compare it with the one where I use the spot meter and place the zones, I think you'll agree that this picture just looks overall better. It's more dynamics to it. The whites look more natural. If we zoom into the brighter petals at the back of the flower, the detail is still textural detail is just held in those very bright areas. Where on this one, on the instant light reading, I struggled with that because they were on the limit, and I did struggle to get any textural detail there. The one of the with the spot meter reading, the background rendered more naturally, where the one with the instant light reading tended to be a little bit too bright, and I had to work harder on that picture to try and darken down that background and bring more detail into those very bright areas on the petals. So in other words, the one where I use a spot meter was an easier picture to actually edit, and it would be an easier picture to print in a dark room. Now, as regards the f-stops, I took pictures at f1.4 and at f4, and I'm glad I took the one at f4, because the picture that I took at f1.4, I wasn't really happy with that. There wasn't enough depth of field, which I did expect that to happen, but I got this tight, like a glow around the edge of the petals, and somehow to me it just spoilt the look of the picture, and that's probably due to the wide aperture of that lens. Just by stopping it down to f4, that glow disappeared. I got a little bit more depth of field, and the picture just looked better. So I think you'll agree, working with a spot meter can yield better results, but don't let me put you off using an instant light reading, because 90% of the time it will actually get it right. Spot readings are better where you've got control over the development on, say, a single sheet of film, and where you've got more time to study the zones in a scene, with your camera on a tripod, maybe doing the landscape, etc. But just for walking about, taking spot readings, is a lot longer process than just taking an instant light reading. Right, let's look at the print now. Right, that's the finished print. It's printed on Epsom cold press bright paper, which is quite thick, and it's got a lovely texture on it, just a delicate texture. It's a matte paper. I've printed it on A3 Plus, which is 19 inches by 13 inches, and the print size is 15 inches by 12. I've also left a white border all around the picture, just to help when you come to mount the picture. It's printed with a very delicate warm tone, and it will come signed and titled. So if you want to help support this channel, please go to the eBay auction, the links below in the description, and put a bid in. All the funds go back to me buying chemicals and film, etc., to help me keep creating this content. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody that's subscribed to my channel, people that make comments on the channel, good or bad. Fortunately, most of them are good, and those that have made donations to my channel. As I say, it just helps me keep buying these films and chemicals, etc. So if you've any questions, just leave them below and I'll get back to you. Thank you for watching, and as I always say, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next video.